and whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am. Hello there, beloved Ascension Pioneers, and welcome to this video where I will talk more about the sacred life force, and especially I want to have a beautiful emphasis on the word Shekinah. So Shekinah, what is it, and how are we actually living in this Shekinah goddess sacred mystic life path in terms of becoming the initiator of our life force rather than just becoming a observer of life or a participant in life, but really being in control through allowing the control to come through our life force, if you know what I mean. So a lot of the creations that we have been experiencing on this level of our physicality as human beings has been coming through external manifestation, and we were witnessing ourselves not fully as co-creator beings. We like to say we're all co-creator beings, or we're co-creator gods or goddesses, but in truth, we really didn't fully captivate that potential. We didn't really fully live it because there's knowledge that was not fully yet understood on greater levels. So just recently someone asked me to do a video on, I think it's called Ophiuchus, and I didn't really know what it is. I had this word for a while, and remember just a while ago I made a video or a mentioning of the serpent goddess, so that mystic sacred life path. But I always receive this as the path of the Tantrika, so the sacred Shekinah life force. And this means to be the initiate of Shekinah. So as I really Googled what it means Ophiuchus, I remembered, oh right, that is a constellation. And it's known to as the man with the serpent. So it's almost like, the counterbalancing polarity of the Shekinah, which feels like that sacred feminine, the serpent goddess, and then you also have them that archetype with the Ophiuchus, which is not something I will talk about in this video, because what I really want to talk about is the Shekinah life force. So this is the sacred life force as I wrote it down here. And what does it mean when I wrote divine essence trinity of the mother, father, child? And when we get deeper into our sacred goddess nature, either as the nurturer, the mystic priestess, or the magical child, and the same archetypes apply to a male being, because it does deal with our integrated masculine, feminine polarities in creation. What this means is that the Shekinah life force, when you become the initiate of Shekinah, means that you have to master all these three aspects in complete unity. And let's face it, not a lot of human beings live that equilibrium of our divine trinity in that perfection of a refined essence. So there's a lot of beings who know that, and there's many great star beings or beings of different cultures, not just here on earth, that master this. And there's a lot of beings here on this planet now who carry the sacred mysterious path and the nature of the Shekinah life force. And what does it mean? What does it mean when you're in this path? Maybe when you're going to watch this video, you're going to discover that this was kind of along the lines of your sacred path, or that you are just getting to the acknowledgement of this, and you're getting deeper into being and becoming the initiate of Shekinah life force. But I remember it was right after I moved here, and I was standing beside this beautiful waterfall here. It's just right there in the back, in one of our beautiful mountains in the Alps here in Slovenia. And I just started saying these words, and it just came through me. And the words were something about the sacred Shekinah goddess coming here, and the essence being here in the Alps. And this is the place to be. The words were, this is the place to be. This is where the Shekinah life force will grow, and the connections will expand. I didn't fully know what it means, but I knew it's related to my purpose as the Tantrika, which is the giver of life. So the Shekinah is that life force, which basically is life itself. When you look at the nature of life and how life guides us, a lot of times when we receive and we start getting those spiritual downloads, as we call them, a lot of them come from the vertical alignment. Well, that horizontal is not yet fully aligned. And we don't yet know that even everything in life has guidance for us. So when you are living in the Shekinah life force, basically nothing for you is separate anymore, because you have mastered the trinity of the mother, father, child, or the nurturer, mystic priestess, and the magical child. These three sacred essences within you. That means that you have you have understood the very nature of creation and what this is, because to serve on that note means to have a complete understanding of it. You know, there's a lot of people who, let's say, on this path as ascension pioneers or as pillars of light, or those of you who are creation pillars, um, people will come on your path. And to serve through the Shekinah life force will not always be the way we want it or we imagine it with our mind, because a lot of people, when they come into contact with us, they want to have either written explanations, they want answers from you, they will want direct guidance from you, but a lot of this will not always be possible. So the Shekinah life force always knows. It's the sacred spirit attunement, which tells you which energy flow you are to pick. So this has nothing to do with any sorts of modality. It's not learned, it cannot be taught. It's just something that is so sacred and so basic. It is so basic within you that there's an innate understanding that just births a different response at each time. This means that the life force itself is in control, not you. And there's a lot of people who maybe come to you for service, or they come to you for some sort of healing or an alignment or something they're seeking, but that won't always be possible through written word or you giving them explanations or guidance, because a lot of people, they don't seek understanding. What they seek from us is still energy. They want to drink from the fountain, they want to have, they want attention, or they're poking us, or they just want to receive that attention. But as the initiate of Shekinah, and if you feel this is your path, or you feel you're drawn to this initiation, this won't always be possible, because for most people, who you will have to really tune into whether that is possible with them. But for a lot of them, the understanding cannot yet be clear, because they're not yet at the level of expansion so they can have or comprehend that understanding. So not with everyone you can work through the principle of understanding and sharing the truth, and let's say in the written word, or people say giving guidance or having that direct human correspondence. So when that is not possible, you cannot do anything as a human. Sometimes we want to, and we act through ego, and basically we still act out of that lack. But when we really tune into our Shekinah life force, basically what we do is we surrender to the life force to show us where the energy wants to move and how you're actually really serving. Because in the cases where that is not possible through understanding, because the understanding, not everybody's yet ready for that level of understanding within complete neutrality of divine love, which is the only truth there is. And so for a lot of those, you'll have to allow the life force to do its own. So basically, certain people, we're just seeding with those infusions of light quotants. We're not really here to tell them things or to explain things. And that is why certain things that I'm doing in my work, such as courses, mastery courses, or a galactic signature, I'm going to create this final course in that alignment, which is going to be about the multidimensional nature of ascension. These things, for certain things, are just for the initiated ones, because not everybody can understand them. So people who say, okay, I'm ready to receive this, they will come and they will want that, and they will seek that out, either to confirm something on their path, or either to remember something about it, or to learn something completely new, which they feel now ready for. So the sacred Shekinah life force is an, as I wrote it here, unlimited, untamed, and completely free force, which you as a human, you need to learn the mastery of allowing it to have its voice, to utilize its current of the basically of the mainstream and how it wants to mainstream through. And for a lot of this, I always say that mastery for us on the physical level begins when we actually start to descend down. So for a lot of people who begin their awakening, their life force their kundalini starts to awaken, but that's just the first stage. So they start to prepare the vehicle for the light of ascension, which will basically start to descend in their bodies. And so that first phase is the awakening, the rising up. And I explain this more in detail in my mastery course on self-empowerment and ascension. It goes more in detail and depth. It's a three-layer process. And then the second level will start to be the descent of your soul, the descent of that mastery. And when we start to move more and more into the expanded, through the breath of life, which is very narrow, but then from that vertical, it starts to move more and more out into the expanded horizontal nature of our being before they merge as one in the unity principle consciousness. There's going to be lots of expansion. And as we start to get more and more physical, our soul starts to get more and more in the body through that illumination, then we will really start to master ourselves. And that is actually where our mastery begins. Our mastery does not begin just with that vertical alignment. A lot of people are still seeking experiences from the higher realms. They want to get confirmations. They want to still strengthen their I am connection, whatever it is. A lot of people have even completely disintegrated their I am connection. So they need to build up towards it once again, that they have that how to say that they just are reclaiming back their sovereign purity. So really the mastery begins by us moving into the physical on every level and seeing how to work with our life force. And that is why from this year on, you're probably noticing that this is something that I'm beginning to speak more and more about, because this is where I am in my journey. And for a lot of you who are also in this particular part of your embodiment, you might resonate with this more specifically and very strongly feel a heart connection with that, which I'm sharing. So the unlimited, untamed, and free life force means that you, as a vessel, you're not even in control of it, but the only part of control you have is the free will to utilize it. Like the guidance I received a few weeks ago, you need to will it so. So you will notice that as you strengthen and as you clear in your life force mastery, things will start to manifest for you faster without you doing much more than you before previously may have thought, because before you were still manifesting on levels of trying to manifest and making things or working for things to happen. But with the life force, it's just complete trust, which is not the same as hope, because with hope, we tend to get very passive. Oh, I hope this was so. Oh, I hope this will happen. I hope to get this perfect relationship, or I hope this person will understand me. Hope keeps us in that illusion of feeling still separate, because you're only hoping because you feel separation. With the unity embodiment, you know that things are so, and you completely trust that inner knowing. So the sacred nature of Shekinah life force, it has to do with you being a full knower. You have to surrender into your knowing. To just be in the vertical does not necessarily mean you are in the knowing. You might be, but your knowing will be tested by you utilizing it, by you expanding it outwards through that expansion of your mastery. And this is where you will start to get initiations, and they will either come through situations, relationship, people testing your button. Not These things are not the same as karmic stuff. You have to see the difference. They're usually here to test your mastery. It's not like a test, you need to either you fail or pass the exam. It's very loving. It's how much you love yourself in this process of ascension. So therefore you send all these agreements back to yourself, and they're kind of showing you whether you still have holes somewhere inside, or there's something you're still not seeing, or you still have those shades like pink tainted glasses, or you still have weak spots with mistrusting, not fully trusting the self. And this will be all for your mastery. And I remember, if I look back in my own journey, the only initiations I ever had to do with self-trust. And always when I trusted myself, everything flew perfectly. When I didn't, I tended to get like a little bit of bouncing ball, so I could see what's there, what's really there. But none of that was karmic. It was just basically to become a master in training here on earth, to expand that knowing into the horizontal. Because the horizontal is the spiraling, and when you start engaging in the process, you will start your life force, which moves always like a pulsating spiral, will start to move upwards. And you will see, the more you do this, the more you strengthen that. When you start to master yourself, the life force will tend to grow, and you will get more sensations in your body, because it will be building towards your white column of light. And this is why the life force is here. It's basically creating a white column of light within our bodies, the fully ascended light being, which we truly are. And as we reclaim that sovereign nature, it's just going to happen naturally. So it doesn't happen by us staying in the vertical. It happens by us moving and expanding into the horizontal. So the Shekinah life force I've written here is a call to serve. The life force only wants to serve. And that's why I wrote here, non-local but focal. There's a difference between focusing all of the life force, or something we really desire, something we feel like a magnet are moving towards, locally or focally. Focus means the divine focus. And I have mastery course on mastering divine focus, which is one of my 7 basic initiations. And I also have the 8th one, which is the advanced one on the group soul consciousness and enlightened partnerships. But that means that when we try to localize our life force, we always limit it. And it always becomes the exact opposite of what I've written down here. It becomes limited, it becomes tamed, and it becomes non-free. It becomes limited in a way. It becomes stagnant. And you will feel when your life force is stagnant, because you will feel either suppression or boredom or lack of sensation. But I'm not talking about that enthusiastic sensation when you're always hyper enthusiastic about things. It can be very neutral, and yet you still feel that inner radiance and bliss, and you feel the pulsation of your life force. You feel like a thriving particle of life. Basically, you are life itself, and you witness yourself and you express yourself as life itself. But when there's any sorts of limitation to that life force, it's showing you where you're not strengthening it, which parts of you are not yet fully allowed that self-expression. And these things are very important. We need to look into them. We need to witness ourselves to see what is still not fully expressed. because there is no call to service without expression. The service comes to our expression. We serve by serving all life in creation, by becoming life. So divine service is not just saying, oh, I serve other people, or I help this person, so I'm in service. That's sometimes can, when people say altruism, can still be seen as selfish and egoic, because when we tend to do it from that, it doesn't necessarily mean that we serve unity consciousness. So to serve unity consciousness is to serve the nature of our true divine love self, which is our unlimited, our free, our untamed, beautiful sparkle of light self. So when our life force, when we try to govern it in a way that we say, oh, I only want to give it to this person, like for example, I just wish to give this person love, and you haven't yet mastered the ability to expand that love. There's a lot of people who use the words twin flames, and their only focus becomes that twin flame on the outside, or their only focus becomes something very localized, instead of really allowing the life force to witness and embrace all that's coming into your life, all that wants to be part of your life, because if it wants to, it means you have an agreement with that. So to work with the sacred life force, to work with the Shekinah sacred life force, is first to very much master the law of trust and allowing, and seeing what's there, what wants to come into your life. Even if you might say it's a negative influence, it's not really negative. It is still something. Either it is a part of something you will share your life force with completely opening up, or it might be something that's just showing you these triggers for your mastery. So the life force itself will show us, because we will feel it. If there's, sometimes we say contractions are bad. If there is a contraction like this, it just means that the life force doesn't want to go there. So when you see the higher aspect of us as beings of complete understanding, nothing anymore is dualistic in nature for us. We might say, oh, I had this weird sensation, or weird dream, or weird something. Weird just means not yet fully understood. That's why you call it weird, because it's not yet fully known. It's not yet, overlit with the light of illumination. So overlit, pardon me. So that means that something we're not seeing there, something we might be missing out on. And when we no longer witness ourselves as local, or just focusing just here, when we put our life force very much with focus, when we know how to work with it with focus, and yet we know that also we have to allow it to roam on its own, that's when the life force will get really wild, but it will get really good, because we have mastered how to become a free sovereign in creation. So this includes to be in deep presence, which is the surrendering. It's not the same as being passive. So passive living, passive waiting, hoping. It deals with sacred trust. When you trust something is there, you know that the life force in itself will take you there, will bring that, will magnify something on its own already. Because when you start to claim back your Shekinah life force, first you have to know what it is. That's why I said it needs to be lived through the balance of these three main essences of creation. If that is not yet fully achieved, then the life force will never fully be in that union of itself, because it seeks its own union. It seeks the union of totality, of the wholeness of what it is. So you might be still claiming, certain aspects, where people have these relationships, take different soul aspects back, or they're calling them back and claiming their personal timelines, which is what I shared before in one of my videos. If that's still in processing, you need to go through this first. But when the life force is so whole and complete, you will come to the new level of divine service. It will just want to move through you in all ways, and this is when it will be very unlimited, when you will master that balance of those main three essences. So through that, you will start to follow and cultivate the life force. You will feel it. You will feel the pulsation of where it needs to go. So I have also a mastery course on sacred sexuality and soul alchemy, which explains how you can master claiming your tantra and how to live your tantric essence, which is how you personally, in your own way, you access the sharing and the reverberating and the emanation of that energy that's always flowing through you. And the devotion of the Shekinah life force always needs to come through purity. If in any way you will try to distort it, negate it, manipulate it, you wanna, let's say, you wanna use your life force to gain a certain partner, or to seduce someone, or to create a certain circumstance for you that maybe is not for your highest good or for the highest good of other, you will fail yourself, because you will be quickly, when you're in the path of mastery, you will be quickly shown the circumstances of what you have created. And a lot of this does lead to miscreations. That's why I've said great wisdom is first required for us to know how to use and cultivate our life force. Because if it's not used through sovereign wisdom, well, humans have been, as you know, creating lots of these miscreations, and it didn't end well. It never ended well. And that's why they needed to continuously come back, relearn, rethink, redo, and over again. But actually, the only thing we truly need is to understand what it means to be a conscious vessel of purity. And I am myself here in these beautiful Alps embodied of the wide ray of purity and devotion to ascension. And that is why I always talk about these subjects with such passion, because this lives deep within my soul. So when you really trust your life force, you're gonna know that it will want to have its voice, it will want to go where it needs to go. But sometimes we have this inner controller, we're still plugging into the mind of the matrix through these different beliefs, which we're now very much dissolving. It's really coming. It's really being recognized now. Maybe aspects of us that were unrecognized are starting now to illuminate. So we're seeing where we were still stopping our life force, where we were blocking it, where we were, let's say, feeling the absence of something in our life, because we have just been focusing through that linear local focus rather than the multidimensional expanded um, focus, the focus where you know that I'm just focused on serving that, I'm focused what I need to create, but I'm not going to localize and say, oh, I'm just going to put it here. So that's a difference. It's a very subtle difference, but it's a very huge difference in how we will use your Shekinah life force. So to be devoted to that and to serving that in purity will be, you will start to witness yourself more, and you will trust the life force without trying to say, oh, what's my purpose. You will figure out that basically eventually you will see that you yourself, how your life force is in a unique way sharing itself, you are the purpose. The things we do, the things we develop, the things we create are all coming from the life force. And I know it sounds probably very cheesy because I continue to say that we're life force, um, but it's just something spiritual in me becoming more and more important for those of us who are really moving into mastery, because to be a master is only to be a master of choice, and that choice will need to come through a life force. That's the only way we'll be pure. Not everything we will feel as an impulse, for example, will be coming from the purity of our life force. A lot of these impulses are still egoic, they're still controlled, they're coming from our lower sexuality, they're coming from patterns, childhood patterns, ancestral lineage that a lot of you are probably clearing. But you will witness yourself. Each time, witness yourself. Ask yourself, for example, you have chosen a certain action to do. Before doing that action, ask yourself from every single angle, what are the options that are leading you there. Let's say you're trying to do something and you're not sure whether that's coming from the part of you that it's coming from pattern or separation. Just witness yourself. See, am I going there? Let's say I choose to go somewhere, I choose to go see someone, and I have to ask myself, am I going to see this person out of certain pattern? Am I going there because something within me wants to play out a certain drama or a certain something on this stage? And then all these scenarios, put them out and feel into them. And if the answer to any of that is no, and you still feel drawn, you still feel the life force draws you, then it truly is something that is there for you. That really sometimes you won't always mentally understand, but the life force in itself will have its voice and you will need to express it. Because for eons and eons on this planet, because we haven't fully trusted ourselves, and that is why we have controllers and oppressors on this planet, because we have been putting the trust of others. And we're saying how poor we are, how controlled and manipulated we are. But humans have been denying the co-creation through their sacred life force, and therefore they have been putting their trust to others. They've been putting their trust to control systems because they didn't feel capable, that they themselves are completely in charge of their life. And before you fully claim your life force, let's face it, you won't be. There's always going to be something else there. But when you see that the only creative ability within you is your life force, that it's the source of everything. Until then, you're still getting it. You're still processing. You're still trying to figure things out, and you're still seeing and testing and trying. No, trial and error is a human thing, but it's a great thing, and it's not negative or positive. It simply is, because sometimes in this human vessel we have to learn through these contrasts, or we have to learn through examples. It's just how it is. You have the teaching in the school, and then you have a homework and there's a test. It's more experimental, so you need to also have a practical approach, not just theoretical. So that's kind of like it is. When you start to work with your life force, everything will be more about practice. Where does it want to go? Does it want to meet that person? Does it want to create something? I'm going to give you just one example, okay, to know what I'm talking about. When you really become the master of your own choice and taking things into your own life, but through life force, not through ego, because you so badly want something and you don't trust it's happening anyway. Let's say someone recently told me, oh, you should really meet this person. Maybe one day I'm gonna, acquaint the two of you, or you're gonna meet. And I said, okay. I heard it 2 times, and I said, okay, interesting. Maybe there's something to it. And the person kept saying it. I'm saying, okay, maybe something really wants to come into my life. And then in the end, I said, okay, who is this person, and how do you imagine, us meeting? And the person said, oh, don't worry, it's gonna happen eventually. Whatever, just whatever. And I remember that night I had this clear impulse saying, you know what? I'm in charge of my life. The message came to me. And usually when people say things, when they come as divine guidance, they happen in synchronicity of 3. But I only got the message twice. And then Spirit said to me, well, for the masters, you no longer need it 3 times. You no longer need external confirmation and approval, because you're becoming your own sovereign. You no longer live in potential. You live in the witnessing of the choice you're making now. So everything becomes conscious, no longer just potential, just vertical, but it's really becoming the expression in the horizontal, meeting that vertical self, which is the knowing, but also the co-creation self. So the thing is, I was shown that for the masters, you no longer need all confirmed, all the knowledge, all the signs before you make the choice. Because the third aspect, so that third sign is you. Is your choice, is what you want to do. And I took, matters in my own hands, and I contacted the person, and I created this meeting, and I created everything. I said, I trust my life force, because my life force is the one that creates, not the other person. If I would wait, for example, if I waited for that person to do that for me, I could wait forever, for example. But I had a feeling there was just a message trying to come true, but I felt the action part is a part of my life force. So that's just one example. It's a very basic example, but we can go so much deeper in this. But I will continue to move into the direction. There's going to be, probably from this year on, more teaching on this, not just through these free videos, probably, because this is my life work. You have to know that this is what I came on this planet to share. This is something that's so deep within me, and I really love and passionately are eager to share with those of you who kind of already feel what this is about. Those of you who do, that you're in this path. And truly, it's just when we free ourselves this way, we simply no longer wait for things to happen. We no longer hope. We're just simply, we're knowing the energy for each situation or each person, whatever kind of meaning it has for us in our life, because the life force tells us. So we don't make assumptions, or we don't make associations with where the energy is supposed to come to us externally. Everything we claim internally. And if that is meant to meet us halfway in the external, it's already meant to, because it is. If not, then maybe it's just not a part of our path. Maybe it's not where our life force needs to go. For example, there's a very simple exercise you can do. Let's say you have 2 choices, or you're thinking your energy wants to move towards 2 people, or you don't know what to do, and you're like indecisive. Before going to bed, or whatever feels good to you, even outside in nature, or when waking up, we each have our own rituals, and when we feel good about this. When it feels good to you, move into your soul and imagine first situation, or first option, or first stream of energy, and follow it. And how does it feel? Will you feel an increased pulse of life in your body? And then follow the other situation, or maybe you have more than 2. At the beginning, just try with 2. And then see where the life pulse will be pulsating. But this isn't always our final answer. Let's say you do make a choice. And then you will see the life energy removed itself once again, and withdrew, it withheld. And you're thinking, wait a minute. And the mind wants to go, so maybe that wasn't the right option. No, it's not true. It was the right option, and for leading you to the very moment where you needed to be now. And maybe the life force now goes somewhere else. And a lot of times when I was mastering my situations through my life force, the energy went like here. And I thought, well, this is it. No, it's not linear. It drives you here, and this sometimes leads you back to here. And then you go once again here. And in the end, it truly is a spiral. So the energy is so untamed. It is so free. It is so independent. It just has to have its voice. In you, as a conscious master in training, you will simply need to witness it, honor it, and give it its voice. Give it its physical expression, because we are here for that reason. So there's a lot of people who wait, or hope, or manifest too hardly, too strongly, or have these specific methods to manifest. Things are so simple. The life force is everything you've ever needed. It's basically, it's who you are. And when you allow it to lead you where you need to be, things will evolve for you. Let's say, for example, I'm going to make up this situation. You want to have a specific amount of money because you want to manifest something. And you think, well, the only option is I'm going to have to get this job, or maybe this part-time something, or this is like, and that's all you're seeing because you're thinking mentally, but you're not allowing the life force to show you. What if there's something there you're not seeing, but the life force says, let's go here on a walk, or let's go here to do this, and you're not trusting it because you're saying, no, life force, why am I magnetically drawn to this? But that's what I'm doing now. I'm creating this. And you want it to be linear. You want it to move from A to Z in a linear way. But the life force goes like this, and you don't know where it's going to always lead you in the next moment. But by tuning in and listening to it and honoring it, giving it its voice and expression in your physicality, it will lead you where it needs to go. And maybe there, when you trust it, something happens and it's a different manifestation than you thought. But it comes to your life force. It doesn't come through effort on the part of just your mental understanding, which says, you need to do this now. And a lot of us have been doing things out of need for so long. And we're expanding so much now that this is basically no longer an option. And just recently, a lot of those notes I had on what I need to do, they're just gone. Something deleted them on my computer, and I can't even write anymore the daily schedules that I never did a schedule, but I wrote for back, what I used to do. Oh, I did this or I did that, just the basic things. And I can't even, get myself to do that anymore because I honor the life force and how it wants to express itself. And maybe a certain part of your life, you will want to move in that direction. And all of a sudden it changes so drastically that you're standing there thinking, am I not honoring myself because this is like, I don't feel what I used to feel anymore? No, it's just the life force is telling you this is already mastered, or this is already whole and complete. We're moving now into this direction, and you will feel it because your whole body will be magnetically pulsating with light and love. So understand that this unlimited, untamed, free life force, Shekinah, sacred, life-giving energy, the giver of life, is just here to love and serve. It's to serve through love. She wants to love. I call it she. For me, it is she because the feminine principle of creation is the she. She just wants to vow. She wants to serve. Like the male principles of Christ. It's very vertical. It's that inner sun, the radiance, and then Shekinah just swirls around it, and she wants to do her own thing. She wants to have her own dance and her own expression. So just follow that. There's more coming up. This was very basic for today to cover the basics. I'm sure there's a lot I didn't cover yet, but this will do for today. It's already a long enough video. I hope this was helpful in some way. Well, I don't hope, but I trust and I know. Correcting myself here. And as always, for those of you writing me your feedback, asking questions, I try to implement things in my videos, but I also need to have the voice of how I'm guided through my own I am presence. So please do consider that. I do, as always, my best as I can, but in the end, I have to listen to my own stream of life force and where that joy leads me. So thank you, and for those of you donating as well, it means so much to me. Thank you for your time, and thank you for watching, and as always, so much love, wisdom, and power. So check out my courses and the Galactic Signature Package, and the new Multidimensional Ascension course is coming soon as well. I do promise that. Okay, I'll talk to you soon again. So much grace. Bye.
Welcome into